All right, guys. So I did this with my 8 a.m. class. It might not necessarily be appropriate to do it in a class with, 10 or 12 different people because it would take so much time. But you might have an opportunity to work this in at some point during our Prelipin split jerk uh, strength cycle. So the way I had them do that, just to determine how kind of deep and then wide their feet need to be, which I went over that with them, so the coaching cues make sense because a lot of times when you're coaching, you're like, "Hey, I need your feet wider," and they're like, "You mean like this or like this?" And so I was like, "This is what I'm talking about. This is foot width, and then this is foot depth." And one thing I've noticed with a lot of our athletes, especially when they first start doing split jerks, is they narrow their feet up and then they do not split deep enough, specifically the front foot. So I would encourage you guys in your classes when you're coaching them through the split jerk to not only look is their back foot moving, but is their front foot moving. So I just used some painter's tape. I put some marks on the floor in class today just to get their feet in the proper position so they could stand there and kind of look, right? Like a visual cue. Am I in the correct position? Obviously, you're not going to be able to do that when you have weight overhead, but in the warm-up drill or with some PVC pipe work, I think for our athletes that are new to split jerk, giving them some type of visual orientation as to like where they need to be is going to be super helpful. So I've seen this one online with some other people. This is not unique to me, but just a quick way for our athletes to figure out where their feet need to be. So the first thing I had them do was just take a knee, or you can just start them on one of the lines there on the floor. And then I had them put two little pieces of tape on the floor in front of each knee. Again, you could do that with just a line. So, like a mat line would be fine. And make sure that their knees are actually shoulder width apart. So, that's the first mark. The second mark that I made with their knees, okay, was a mark right behind their foot. So, I can't really do this myself. But then the idea would be to walk behind them and put a tape mark right behind their foot. The key here is that they're actually up on their toe because in the split position, they're going to be up on their toe. So put one behind each foot, okay, depending on which foot is their lead foot. It's going to vary for everybody. And then once they're down on their knees like that, in those two positions, then I have them bring kind of their lead foot up and make sure that that shin is nice and vertical because that is important when they're catching that bar in the split jerk. So whichever foot they have in front that's most comfortable for them, they can put a tape mark there. For me, I actually prefer to have my left foot forward. So I would mark my left foot. Okay. Again, the same idea here that those tape marks should be relatively close. So when they do their split jerk, they're going to stand on top of those first marks, just where their knees were. When they split, okay, those feet should be relatively close to those tape marks. You'll notice that I still have a nice vertical shin here. Got a slight bend in the knee there. I'm up on my toe in the back foot, squishing the bug. And then I have a slight bend in that back knee. And then when we come back together, remember it is front together, back together, down. One other thing that I had him do before we kind of marked off the floor was determine which foot is their lead foot. So I had him, was like, hey, get ready to run a race. Like we're going to run a sprint. And they all kind of got ready to run the sprint, right? Whatever leg is in front is probably the leg that they're going to feel most comfortable splitting with. Another way that you can do it when you're swinging, what leg is in front, or when you're throwing, which leg is in front. Those are all going to be indicators as to which leg they're going to split with, so that when you drop down and go to those tape marks that you guys have provided your athletes. Whatever leg they come up with is probably going to be the leg that they're most comfortable splitting.